A couple of weeks ago, I drove Toyota's urban cruiser and described it as a bit of a compliance EV, but this feels very different. This is the new Toyota CHR Plus, Toyota's proper attempt at an electric crossover. The big question is, have they finally cracked it? Because it's going to need to be good to step up alongside the Kia EV3 and the Skoda Elroq. You see, Toyota has taken a slightly different approach to electrification compared to many other manufacturers. While brands like Kia and Skoda have gone all in on electric cars, Toyota has continued to push its multi-pathway strategy. Hybrids, plug-in hybrids, hydrogen and EVs all existing alongside each other. And at the most part, people would argue that was the correct choice. But that means that their fully electric lineup has been relatively small until recently. However, things are starting to change. Now, alongside the urban cruiser and the BZ4X, Toyota is expanding its EV range with this, the CHR Plus, a coupe-style electric SUV designed to combine style, range and performance, and starting from just under $33,000 in the UK, and it's aimed squarely at the heart of the EV market. Hi guys, I'm Tish and welcome back to Auto Social UK and welcome to the glorious Algarve in Portugal. Today I'm here to test out this new EV to see whether Toyota can kind of repair the relationship that we've had with their electric cars. So if that sounds good, then please keep watching. And if you like new car reviews and car content, well, you are in the right place. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Toyota is offering the CHR Plus with two different battery sizes. The entry version uses a 57.7 kilowatt-hour battery, producing 167 horsepower and delivering up to 458 kilometres of WLTP range. Now, step up to the larger 77 kilowatt-hour battery and power increases to 224 horsepower, with the longest range version actually able to travel to 607 kilometres of WLTP, depending on wheel size. Now, interestingly, Toyota has also developed a much more powerful all-wheel drive version that produces 343 horsepower and can accelerate from 0 to 100 kilometres in just 5.2 seconds, which actually makes it one of the most powerful Toyotas available in Europe outside of the GR performance cars. But, and it's a big stinky but, the all-wheel drive model isn't coming to the UK, which is slightly disappointing because in my experience with the urban cruiser, traction was one of the areas where that car could struggle a little. Whether it's pulling away on a damp or muddy surface, I occasionally found that it was really searching for grip. Now, the CHR Plus is heavier and it's more powerful, so having the option of that all-wheel drive could have been quite useful, particularly in poor weather conditions, of which we get a lot in the UK. That said, the version that we are getting still delivers respectable performance, and it should be more than quick enough for everyday driving. Visually, this is unmistakably part of the CHR family. Toyota says that the goal here was to create an SUV that looks exciting whilst remaining practical for everyday use. And I have to say, personally, I actually really like the way that this looks. There's definitely something very sharp and dynamic about the design. The creases, the stance, the way that the bodywork catches the light. It actually reminds me quite a lot of Lexus styling, and that's definitely a positive in my eyes. At the front, there's Toyota's latest hammerhead design language, which is something that we're now starting to see across the whole of the brand's lineup. Because this is an EV, the front end is mostly closed off, which helps with those aerodynamics. In fact, Toyota claims a drag coefficient of 0.626, which is very impressive for a crossover. There's also lots of small aerodynamic touches too, like hidden rear door handles, carefully shaped alloy wheels, a ducktail rear spoiler, and airflow management around the body. Just like the petrol CHR before it, the styling here will probably divide opinions. But the interesting thing about the CHR is that even though it's been around for decades, even the previous generation model to the latest one looks impressively modern today. So if Toyota have aimed to create something bold that stands out and ages well, I think they might just be onto something here. Let me know all of your thoughts on the CHR Plus styling down below. Does it tickle your charging cable? Now, range is clearly an area where Toyota has prioritised. The longest range version reaches 607 kilometres, which translates to roughly 376 miles. That puts it very close to the best cars in this segment. Now, for context, the EV3 does around 375, the Renault Scenic E-Tech around 379, and the Skoda Elroq roughly 360 miles. So Toyota is competitive here, even if it doesn't quite lead the class. Now, charging is somewhere where it slightly falls behind. So fast charging tops out at 150 kilowatts, which means you can take the car from 10 to 80% charge in around half an hour under ideal conditions. That is better than the urban cruiser at least, but it is dragging its heels compared to some of its rivals. Mind you, it's on par with many Stellantis products like the Vauxhall Grandland, but I'm not exactly sure that that's good company in this class. It also supports 11 kilowatt AC charging as standard, while higher trims can be equipped with 22 kilowatt AC charging. And the car also includes a heat pump and battery thermal management system designed to maintain efficiency in colder weather, something that Cupra decided to charge their customers extra for. And personally, I'd say it's a particularly important bit of kit for the UK buyer, who aren't quite blessed with this glorious weather that we're getting in the Algarve. You know, when Toyota announced that they were naming a car BZ4X, I think we all thought they'd gone a little bit crazy. Hardly the most memorable name. So with its next EV, they pulled a name from one of their most successful crossovers. But how much does the petrol hybrid share with this electric model? How much do they have in common? Well, the CHR Plus is quite a bit larger than the regular hybrid CHR. In fact, it's 170 millimetres longer overall, and the wheelbase has been stretched by 110 millimetres. Now, those numbers might not exactly sound huge on paper, but actually in practice, they make a real noticeable difference, particularly when it comes to rear passenger space and overall cabin room, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. So although the name might suggest that this is simply just an electric version of the CHR, really it's a larger vehicle altogether, sitting in a completely different part of the market. And that places it directly in one of the most competitive EV segments in the whole of Europe right now. Cars like the Kia EV3, the Hyundai Kona Electric, the Skoda Elroq, and even the Volvo EX30. So although the name might suggest that this is simply just an electric version of the CHR, in reality it's actually a larger vehicle sitting in a slightly different part of the market. But Toyota does have one important advantage here. Many buyers that are moving from hybrids to EVs will already be familiar with the brand, and that reputation for reliability still carries a lot of weight. I'm about to have quite a few Toyotas on the channel, and recently I drove the RAV4. That was in a studio, and I said that the interior was just a little bit drab and boring, and it was the same with Urban Cruiser. In here, don't get me wrong, it's not blowing me away by how dramatic its styling is in here, but there are some nice little details that do just make it a bit more interesting. For instance, this dashboard is in between a metal and a wood design. Quite like that. And then it's very sharp, matches with the exterior, and also it's just very easy in its layout. Everything is exactly where you think it's going to be. So of course you have your drive selector down here, your handbrake, eco mode for example. Oh, and here's actually a real highlight of this car. Not only one, but two wireless charging pads. You didn't even get that in the BMW iX3. You also have this massive touchscreen, and Toyota's touchscreens, it's been a bit hit and miss. They're getting better, they're still not the best in class. So for me personally, I think that Renault has the best in class because it runs on a Google system. But this is pretty good, and I do like the fact that when they were programming the sat-nav, you was able to add loads of steps in it, which made it quite usable. So that's a big positive. Better, not best in class, but actually very user-friendly. Here's something that I'm still not too keen on, and that's the steering wheel. I just think it's very ugly. And also you have that digital driver's instrument cluster that when you're actually driving in this car, you can't always see that completely. You have to bring the steering wheel right down, and then it's really on your knees. It's a shame that they haven't evolved with their electric models and just worked out that that just doesn't work. But overall, you can see all the information you absolutely absolutely need to see. You've got nice buttons on the doors, a little bit of ambient lighting in the higher spec models, but disappointingly, in here we have a mix of both leather and also fabric. If you go for a car that's this price point with other brands, you'll often find a vegan leather. So some people that want fully vegan leather seats might want to go for one of the rivals, but actually in the heat of the summer or in the freezing cold of the winter, it might be better to go for cloth. Storage is okay, so you have a little bit of storage under here. It's not the most obvious, but you can tuck things away, and also you have got, I did this with, oh, it's on the side, I did this with RAV4, couldn't work out how to open it. Ta-da! Oh shit. So your passenger and your driver weirdly can open it from either side. I'm not really sure what the practicality of that is, but a little bit quirky. Plenty of storage in there, 2 cup holders up front, and like I said, storage underneath, so it's all pretty good. Hitting the smooth tarmac of the glorious Algarve, the CHR Plus immediately feels like a very different car to the petrol and hybrid versions that came before it. The battery sits low down in the floor, which lowers the centre of gravity, and it helps to give the car more of a planted feel through the corners. Mind you, that's hardly groundbreaking news for an EV. They're all a bit like that to an extent. But it does have a good quality of driving experience. Everything feels well engineered and refined, and there's very little road noise. The power delivery is smooth, and around town it feels like a very relaxed car to drive. Likely this is where this model is going to spend the majority of its life, so that's important. And in day-to-day driving, commuting, motorway journeys, urban traffic, it's calm, predictable, and it's very easy to live with. Ride comfort is also very good, and even on these larger wheels, the suspension still does a really nice job of absorbing the bumps, so it never feels harsh or overly firm. As for handling, this isn't trying to be a performance SUV. Now, push it hard into the corners and you can feel the weight of the battery pack, and the tyres prioritise efficiency over outright grip. Don't get me wrong, it's not the most playful electric SUV in this class, and cars like the Volvo EX30 can feel a little bit more eager if you're really pressing on. But that's not really what the CHR Plus is trying to do. Instead, this car focuses on being a good all-rounder, which is exactly what many Toyota buyers will want from their car. And in that sense, it feels very much like a Toyota, just one that happens to be electric. Next up, an important subject, so pricing. Now in the UK, the range starts at $32,995 for the Icon model. Now step up to the design trim and that begins at £36,150, while the XL version starts from $40,150. So depending on specification, you're looking at somewhere between $33,000 and just a touch over $40,000. And that places the CHR Plus right in the middle of the mainstream EV market. And a lot of key rivals that I've already mentioned at the start are a similar price and offer comparable range figures. Which is refreshingly nice to report about a production Toyota, because for a while they've been looking a little bit pricey. A Yaris is not pocket change nowadays, and people don't mind paying a little bit extra for a hybrid, knowing that you have that reliability and the know-how. And perhaps Toyota thought that they needed to earn a bit more trust when it comes to EVs. Wise move, I think, and that now makes this a very recommendable electric car by me. Now, what I will say about this rear interior space is it's good. I've got a good amount of headroom, decent amount of legroom, and it feels way more spacious than a standard CHR. However, you do sit at a slightly strange angle. Now, we are parked on a hill, so my bum's slightly slanting downwards, but the batteries are under the floor and your feet come up quite high. So it does feel a bit unnatural if you compare it to a combustion car. But overall, the fundamentals are very good. It's very comfortable, it feels relatively spacious. You've got 2 USB-C. You've also got some rear ventilation as well, which isn't always a given in this part of the market. We've got a pull-down armrest, a couple of cup holders, and there's even somewhere where you can pop your mobile phone, so that's quite handy. There's nothing that's particularly exciting about the rear. There's nothing that feels like it's been going above and beyond for passengers in the back. For instance, if you go for a Renault Scenic, you can get the really cool kind of like sliding out device holder. But overall, pockets on the backs of the seats, I've got storage in the side of the doors. It's all pretty good. So, boot space. Unfortunately, this is the one other area where this isn't best in class, but you know what? It's still pretty good. So inside here you get 416 litres. So you are going to get more space if you go for a Skoda Elroq, or perhaps if you go for the Renault Scenic E-Tech. But actually, it's a very practical space. It's relatively high, so there are lower cars if you need something low for loading, but there's a nice wide opening and there's plenty of storage inside. There's also a little area underneath where you can tuck your charging cables. To be honest, it's not particularly clever in its design. If you want a clever boot space, then Skoda Elroq really has that nailed. But you know what? I think for the average family, this is excellent. And actually, if you're stepping up from a petrol hybrid CHR, you're probably going to be quite impressed. Like I said, Toyota tends to inspire confidence, and for electric ownership, they're doing that by backing it with some really bold warranty claims. So the CHR Plus battery is covered by Toyota's Battery Care programme, which can actually extend coverage up to 10 years or 1 million kilometres. Yes, you did hear that right, providing that you do the annual healthcare checks which are completed at the dealer. So I think for many buyers who are considering their first EV, that level of reassurance could really be very appealing. Now personally, I think the CHR Plus feels like a very important step up for the brand. Unlike some of their earlier EVs, this car feels carefully designed to compete directly with some of the best electric SUVs in its class. It offers strong range, competitive performance, and the reliability reputation from Toyota that they're so well known for. Now, it may not lead in this segment in every category, so charging speeds and also boot space, they could definitely be stronger, but it does arrive as a well-rounded option in a rapidly expanding EV market. And for drivers who have trusted their Toyota hybrids for years, the CHR Plus could represent a natural step into a fully electric car. I really hope you've enjoyed this video today, guys. Please let me know, what do you think of the CHR Electric? Do you think that this is now one of their best EVs? I certainly think so. Let me know all of your thoughts and feelings down below. I really hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. And if you want to see more like it, then you know what to do. You've got to go ahead and hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell notification so you never miss another video. See you later.